Hi, it's Ashley Noel. It's been a while since I've been on here. I want to thank all the people who interact with me and watch these videos that I make on here. It's really life-changing when you can connect with other people who understand not just the struggles that you've had in the past, but the revelations that you're able to make for a better future. If you're somebody in the midst of an abusive relationship, if you have a history of being involved in an abusive relationship, if you come from an abusive family history, this is a conversation you might find useful. So I do these videos a lot in focus of growing the self and being focused on bettering the self after abuse. So that's why I think you're in a good place. I'm on live right now because a topic has just come to me today and that I need to share. I think about this a lot, how we become bonded to those who abuse and use us. We become bonded to people like that through our vulnerabilities. And I want to reach out to all of you who might have this going on in your life where people are using you based on your vulnerabilities. It can be a situation where you want to achieve a certain goal and somebody uses your personal goals to get closer to you and to kind of blackmail you to do things for them out of concern for your goals. So I'll just kind of lay it out for you. I was in a relationship recently. It was a long-term relationship, and my personal goal was to clear up my acne, and it was also to address some pre-diabetic symptoms that I was having. I had experienced a vegan diet that was really high carbohydrate, a lot of sugar, and I was kind of running on adrenaline all the time. So I kind of bared down and I did a lot of research, and over the years realized that this person was using my personal goals to attain their standard of attractiveness and status in a relationship so that they can affect other people in their social circles. So when I identified this, I had to make a lot of changes, and I realized that I was bonded to that person on that trauma. So I was pursuing bonds with my partner by engaging in my goals with my partner, and I would accept punishments from my partner in terms of lack of attention or deviations from our shared goals. I would take that personally and take responsibility for that. I would say, he doesn't think I'm attractive enough. He doesn't think that I have enough persistence or integrity. And these are the things that people will use against you if you're a vulnerable person inside of a relationship, especially with a narcissist, and you have a history of family abuse. So I labeled this, I titled this video, Stockholm Syndrome and Child Abusers. The reason I did that is because I want to help you guys, if you're in the midst of an unhealthy relationship, to identify areas where you may be trauma bonded and experiencing Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome is when someone who's captured, kidnapped, or imprisoned somebody else is creating emotional ties with the victim, and the victim responds with a strong emotional bond to them. It is a trauma bond, and it's achieved when the abuser is able to peer into the victim and see their capacity for empathy and compassion. They need to be able to see inside of you and see if you are empathetic. if you're capable of looking beyond somebody's flaws and seeing the best in them. They want to see a childlike innocence in you. I hate that they do this. I hate that they do this because some of the most precious people in my life, I'm learning, have been used in this way. And these things don't become known right off the bat. They're not easy to detect because when you are witnessing a relationship between a victim and an abuser, a victim and a narcissist, a child and an abusive parent, a controlling parent, it's very hard to see past the Stockholm Syndrome trauma bond. For instance, a child can learn to defend their parent because they see society behaving in a way that suggests that their parent is not exactly a good person. However, as a child, you may see your parent as the ultimate symbol of love because that was your first relationship. That was, especially with mothers, that's your first bond. It's your food source, your love and touch source, and your identity. So when a child is experiencing narcissistic parents, they are so susceptible to Stockholm Syndrome, and it's nearly impossible to separate the child from the parent, even in conversations. I'd like to share with you an experience of mine when I was a child. My father was an investigator. He worked for the FBI. He told me his job was to spy on spies. Apparently, he was very good at it. For some reason, and this is at the basis of why I struggled as a child. When my father would ask me, "Do you want to live with me or your mother?" I would not know what to say. All I knew was that somebody was trying to take me away from my mom. My mother was not only abusive and neglectful, but she was enabling very, very complicated abuse. I, as a child, could not say, "I want to live with you, Dad." And it wasn't my fault. And I want you, if you're in a very similar position, I want you to acknowledge that it is not your fault. It's not your fault because Stockholm Syndrome is powerful. Trauma bonds are very powerful with parents. I'm quite emotional because, and I'm not afraid to say this, you have to not be afraid to speak. I was contacted by my mother. And if she's watching this, I don't think she's going to be watching this, but if she's watching this, this is what I have to say. Parents who bring a child into the world and fail to address their child's basic needs, they may, over the years, establish a good relationship with their child through lots of work and self-awareness. However, if you knowingly pose a threat to your child's innocence and safety, if you knowingly are present during these instances of violence against your child, you cannot expect your child to grow up as an adult, eager, willing, or interested in having a healthy relationship with you. If you're a child of a parent who has put you in harm's way. It is not your responsibility to make that parent feel better about themselves. It's not. You need to break the bonds of Stockholm syndrome. So she contacted me to tell me about a death in the family. This is her way of peering into my capacity for empathy and compassion. She remembers that as a little 4-year-old, 5-year-old child, I hated being ripped away from my mother. She remembers any time anybody in my life talked negatively about my mom and made her cry, it made me cry too. Anytime she experienced loss, I cried for her. And I grew up to think for my mom, to prepare for my mom, to care for my mom, to be my mother's parent. She's not going to elicit this kind of empathy and compassion from me at all, ever again. She's going to run and scrape her knees on the ground, and she's going to have to put her own damn Band-Aid on her boo-boo herself. I am a person who is broken free from these bonds. I'm a person who has recreated these bonds through relationships that I cannot be resentful for, but I can definitely learn from. I have dreams. Last night I had a dream where my ex-boyfriend was very, very much imitating my mother. And he was eliciting the same kind of empathy and compassion from me. He was actually in a group called the Fallen Heroes in my dream. So they will elicit, they will try to develop an identity of a hero and a victim at the same time, which makes it impossible for you as a victim of this bullshit to save them or to feel sorry for them. It'll always be something that they can't quite accept anyway. They'll cry in front of you. You'll try to soothe them. Nothing works. You'll end up having to promise things to them that bond you even more. If this is making sense to you, I hope that you remember that you're not alone and that it is possible to break from trauma bonds and Stockholm syndrome. If you're being pursued by people that you try desperately to break ties with, I encourage you to reach out for support. You can email me here. I'll leave it like in the description or something. But I'm not the only one that understands. There's a group that you can reach out to. It's called Adult Children of Alcoholics. You can consider that group Adult Children of Chaos or Adult Children of Child Abuse. It's a group that you can contact through the phone to listen to other people talk about their experiences so that you can gain wisdom. You can gain a control over your wisdom and you can really wield a better future. You're not alone. A lot of the times we feel alone. We feel like if we were to leave this thing that we're entrapped in, we will lose who we are. That we'll lose our identity of the compassionate person in the world. Your compassion belongs on you. It belongs back into your own heart. Your compassion is there to protect you. So I've been interacting with people on this kind of interface, and I'm learning that I am not alone. And I want to thank you if you have reached out to me, if you make comments on these videos, especially the one about 5 signs you might have a BPD mother. That's a very popular video. A lot of people suffer from this kind of situation. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. When these things come up for you, Please journal. Please reach out to a group of people, like I said. Make your own videos. Make your own video journals. You don't have to share them. I'm crazy that I share these things, but it's necessary because we can't feel alone in this. I'll leave you with that. I send you my best. I send you my love. And keep working on yourself because you are so worth it. Take care.